All right, buddy. We're going to have a little talk here. When you see those cats, you're going to have urges. We need to let the urges pass, and we need to listen. Put our game faces on, okay? Just treat it like any other day. Take a deep breath. You're being a very good boy.
Good. Come. No. Come. No. Come. Good. Hear that? Because I don't. Hey. Buddy. That's pretty good, dude. Close the door. Crushing it. I'm so proud of this little doofus.
Loki, come.
Now on this one, if you want to drop your leash, you can. We'll walk a little further away, and we're just going to keep an eye on them. Do your tap. Now walk closer to the bed and say bed. Very good. So now we're going to see if we can even get away without having to pick up our leash at this point and just use the e-collar and some body language. So walk a few more steps backwards. Very nice. Now you can walk back to him. Give him a nice calm pet on the head and tell him good boy. Very good. And then now you can grab your leash and then you can release him with the okay. Very good. And now we'll do a few more just like that. You can step a little closer to it to help him with that body language. Perfect. Well,
two and two together. I don't think like your bed and my bed are like combining into a bed.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what this all is teaching him.
Yeah.
So that's the whole process of this, is that he has to learn how that works, right? So like with Athens, we did all of this for you, and then you just kind of utilize it at home. Yeah. But with Roman, since we're doing the private sessions, you're kind of along for the ride as far as all of the teaching as well. Yeah. So he is going to be kind of clueless initially of like, what are you wanting me to do? But that's where we have to help him and teach him, right? So once we say it and he stands there, that little step that we took, he's like, oh, okay, right up on the bed. So that's what's helping him understand the definition behind the word that we're saying. Is there anything major that you're struggling with, particularly with him, or do you feel like you have an easy time with him?
The only thing I hate is just like putting him in the crate because I know he hates it.
Okay.
And
We're getting better at that.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's like, it's not a me-him thing. It's just his aversion to being crated.
Sure. Does he get in smoothly sometimes, or is it always like a big fight?
He's getting in pretty smoothly. I've been working with him more on it, and finally it's like, most recently he's reluctant. Like when he knows we're leaving now, he's reluctant to get in, but he's still going in with like one little correction.
Sure. Okay. Do you feel like you have the same experience with him, where you feel like you can easily crate him, or do you feel like you get a little
I've been able to,
resistance?
like, willingly go in a couple times,
Okay.
but when it's time to close, he's like,
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Like closing the door.
Yeah, and it's like I literally have to like put in like my full body weight to like close the
Okay.
door that way because he's trying to fight me from the other side. I know, I don't like to do it, so I make him do it.
Yeah. We can work on a little bit of crate stuff and then just go over some of the commands that we've learned already and have you just start to implement the e-collar then. Sometimes if you feel a little bit more comfortable of how to use it, you'll have an easier time applying it. Just having all the language be the same to him is really important for his growth and development and in training. Thank you for taking things so gently. That's very refreshing. And for the crate, currently, do you use the word crate, or do you use kennel, anything else? Okay.
He's great. And it's for like feeding time, treats, just general like playing around of like having him go in. I've been like using it a lot more for like just having him go in there. And then also adding closing the door.
Sure.
He's got the sixth sense of like, hey, are you leaving?
Yeah.
But in the last, like, just last night, it was so much better of like, he knew we were leaving, but he was doing the thing where it's like, I don't want to go in, but maybe I will. And I had to do one little correction. And he's like, okay, but
Yeah.
all right, I'll go in. And then I closed it and it was fine.
I'm just gonna see his initial reaction to the crate at first. Come on, bud. Yes. Come on, bud. Just gonna get him to go in and out a couple of times before I start to name it. Come on, bud. Come on. Yes. Yes. And I just want to see that he's comfortable with the premise. Come on, bud. I know. Yes.
I have a bunch more treats if you need.
Okay. Bud. Yes. So you typically do something like this at home?
Yeah, it's pretty often usually like, because he takes
Yeah.
everything
Okay.
in there. He's good about it any time that we're not leaving.
Great.
He has to go in there and he's not allowed
Good.
to leave until I say so.
Okay.
Closing the door, if it's playtime, like training time, totally fine with it. If he senses that we're leaving,
Good.
not
Yeah.
as much, but yesterday was pretty good.
Okay. I'd start like drilling it out and doing all the things, the components you normally do when you're leaving somewhere. Great. Like sometimes dogs can cue off of us, like getting our keys, putting our shoes on, little micro things. Yeah.
He knows the keys.
Good.
Sure. It's also like consistently leaving in the evening. So it's
Okay.
just like going to the gym 3 nights a week.
Okay. Great. I'd have the word crate. Crate mean go in your crate. And whether we're closing or opening the door, I'd like him to wait, not lunge toward the door. Because it's probably like the last piece of us leaving is that door closing. So that has become like a trigger for him. And you'll see a lot of like that body weight going forward. So since the biggest anxiety or you're seeing the most problems with the door, I would just drill that out as much as you can. Get everything on to leave to mimic your leaving. And then we don't, I feel like when we're trying to get our things together and leave, we're tending to rush things a little bit, and that might be where we're not taking our time, and that's totally natural. It happens to all of us. But I'd start drilling it out so when it happens, we don't have to wait for it to happen organically to work through it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay? So it's good that you're putting the prep work into the crate already. I really like that. I just say like, he can go in and out. We've checked that box. He can stay in there if we ask him to. Just the last little piece is probably like when we're actually serious and we're like, all right, bye. And he's like, you're leaving without me. Okay. Good job. Great. Good. Good. I'm going to open it slowly. And the goal is that he doesn't rush out. Like you said, you're doing a little bit of that, but if we can make it more consistent, where an open door doesn't mean rush out until we kind of give the verbal release. Good. Okay, there you go. Nice. And tell him good, and you can reward him. And kind of close that door. No. And then whenever you're ready, you can say, okay. Perfect. So in the crate process, we want to see that it's getting pretty streamlined. So I take care of the last little bit of him like charging, especially when you go to do it at home, and give him a correction if you feel his body weight start to charge toward it as he's like scampering. He's like, please don't leave me here. Bye, Abby. We're gonna go rock climbing.
Archie lets you bring a dog if you have a third person that can
Really?
hang out with the dog. So like if it's a giant husky there.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful. Good job. And we can start to make his comfortability, we can set the expectations, which is get in the crate, stay in the crate, let us close and open the door without you rushing out. And then when the expectations become extremely clear, we're going to see a huge reduction in any issues. I mean, even there when I was doing it, he was giving me a little bit of sass with, like, he's not biting me, but he's a little mouthy. He's like, stop. And that's just a way that he's trying to control the situation. So if we, yeah, it's okay. Like, we just have to generalize that the rules are the same at home. And if we start setting that boundary, like when that door opens, it doesn't mean that you're dismissed. It's like when your teacher used to be like, I don't dismiss you, or the bell doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
the same.
I mean, not to sound like militant or anything, but starting to have a couple really solid rules that you both can get on, and we're both doing it the same way every time, is going to help him so much in the long run. And it's like freebies, essentially, like giving him freebies where there are times where we're a little bit more lax, like we can think like we're being nice or we're... Yeah, but it can be confusing to the dog themselves, and then our goal would be not to have to say no to him anymore. Our goal would not to have to be to correct him. We just need to be an instrumental part of him learning and understanding our expectations. Yeah, that you were telling me you were going to do that.
Yeah, he did, when we got back and picked him up, they're like, he doesn't like it here. Basically, the entire kennel or whatever. Like he played with other dogs, but also it was the I want to leave.
Yeah. Nervousness of
Yeah.
not having you guys around. Okay.
Yeah, and it was very much, it's like, they're like, we recommend, like, our main options are somebody come to your house, trazodone or whatever, and I know it's because, like,
Sure.
probably because, like, the first few times we did it, it was he's there for 4 hours, and then the last 2 times it was like a 10-hour stay, and then this one was like
Sure.
overnight.
Perfect. Yeah. It's really on the dog professional offering the service of boarding to be able to control and manage the dog. And if they're lacking, it's good that they told you. It's good that they're able to communicate that with you. But for them to recommend medication is a little ridiculous.
Yeah, they were basically like, the 3 main options are, we want him here, but he doesn't want to be here, so like, don't come back. They sent me a list.
Don't come back.
I know, I was like, wow, you're actually recommending that? They sent me a list of like, here's the people that
Yeah.
we recommend that will like come and check
Sure.
on your dog and stay at your house.
I felt weird after we left.
Yeah.
It was very weird. It's like, but also there's a lot of dogs on anti-anxiety meds here as like another option. And I'm like, yes, separation anxiety is a huge issue for him.
Yeah, I think like he does have some separation anxiety, which is why he has a hard time being away from you, a hard time going to the crate, a hard time when you're leaving. And of course, we can work toward those things and make them better by just creating a little distance in the house. So starting, instead of like, it's not wrong to snuggle with him, but maybe implementing a better crate stay, like we talked about. Getting a little bit of distance from him in the house sometimes. And then we could prep him a million times around the world for us to be leaving, but if the pet professional is unable to handle him, then that's a red flag for me. So you could have somebody come into your house. That's a good option. I wouldn't go back to that place if you feel like your gut was telling you that something was off.
Yeah, I think they were good. It was just like they've been every time candid about like what his behavior's been, and I really appreciate them being like, and they also included that like he wasn't violent, he wasn't aggressive, he wasn't snappy at anyone.
Yeah.
He was just lingering at every threshold and being like staring away at us.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was like nice to hear that they
Sure.
pay so close attention. But also like
Yeah.
we have to like leave him sometimes, and so like
I'd board him or leave him with somebody you feel really confident that can handle all his little quirks. So, I mean, we do boarding here, and it's a little bit more pricey of your average places, but it would come with a lot more than your average boarding would come with. So that's always an option. We would be glad to have him anytime you needed to, but also starting to prep him in some way to create a little bit of separation from him. I think you should feel like you can go be a human and travel without fearing that he's going to have an explosive reaction with whoever you're entrusting to take care of him. It's good that they were cognizant and let you know that they felt he was anxious, but really it's on the company then to find solutions of how to control that. And if they're not doing that, like I said, a little bit of a red flag, not somewhere I necessarily want or trust with my dog.
well, right now it's like leaving him at home, great.
No.
And then eventually, I'd like to be able to work on like getting him to like leave him in a room, and maybe the house.
Yeah.
Like right now it's just the crate.
I wouldn't ditch your crate anytime soon. I think it's the safest place for a dog to be, especially if they're dealing with separation anxiety. And even if we have great success in the crate and we're like, he has no issues, people are inclined then to be like, let's remove the crate. And then we see the behaviors happening again. So even as a professional dog trainer, I've been doing this for a little bit. My dog is always crated. I've had her for 3 years. She will always be crated when I leave the house just because it gives me peace of mind. And I feel like it really helps stabilize her into one specific area. That I'm not like, shit, did I leave that medication out or did I leave this out? Because we're not
Those
perfect.
fears are
Yeah,
terrifying all
Yeah.
the time. Like, did you decide today that the cats were unacceptable?
exactly. Yeah,
Like here.
yeah, yeah.
Constant fear, and it's like, and he also does like the small space. Like,
Sure.
He loves his upstairs, his sleeping crate. He puts himself to bed, and
Yeah.
he likes cozy snuggled areas.
Well, let's make our goal for the next the week or so, getting him really comfortable in the crate, creating a little separation in the house. So when you're eating dinner or you're doing things that don't directly involve him, either having him on a play stay or having him practice some crate time will get us comfortable. Yeah. Yeah.
He's been doing great about it. We haven't closed the door for, we've done it once or twice, but not recently for like dinner. Like, because
Sure.
also the crate is right in our visibility.
Yeah, yeah.
I know, I'm right here. Great. No. Great.
Perfect. I'd start closing the door and taking that last step, and then when that finalizes, like, it's for dogs, it's barrier. So it's like he knows that the door isn't there, so he's like, okay, I mean, I could leave. And then when the door closes, he's like, oh my God, I'm trapped in here. So getting him comfortable with the crate, getting some of those crate manners. How I'd set it up is exactly what we're doing. Put the prong on, put the leash on him, get him to go in with a little bit of leash pressure, and then start correcting if he leaves too early or if he doesn't go in at all. Practice a little separation. Feel in your gut, is it okay to return to the place? Do you feel good about it? You could ask a couple more questions to them, or find somewhere that can fully manage the dog that he is and the issues he's having. Because he can go there, and if his behaviors are not being addressed, it doesn't matter if we put in 100 hours at home because they're not being addressed by the staff, whether that's a lack of experience or they just feel uncomfortable doing anything. I would not expect them to correct him by any means.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the hard part.
Yeah, it's like if they're like, and that's
Good job.
he doesn't like being left. It's like if he's,
Great.
they're comfortable, like, are they noting on their file like this dog doesn't want to be here?
Yeah.
We don't want to take him, or is it we just wanted to let you know he's unhappy. Like, okay, my dog's unhappy when I leave. Are you okay with that?
Yes,
Like,
exactly. Because we've addressed that he's unhappy, he gets nervous when you leave, and they should really, they do that for a living. They take dogs in. I can't imagine every single dog that goes there is like, this is great, my parents have left me and abandoned me, and now I'm with all these dogs, and some of them don't have manners. I love it here.
Yeah.
It's probably very loud.
I'm not mad if he does that.
Yeah. I mean, he's your dog, and ultimately you get to make the calls on what you feel is appropriate and not appropriate. And I could tell you up and down, like, oh, you should do this and that, but you really want to focus in on the things that are important to you and be able to handle him in every situation. How has the last, 2 or 3 weeks been since we last met?
They've been good. Yeah, you guys come on in. You can see. The thing is, I have not done the thing where I'm supposed to walk up to the cats.
Sure.
I haven't done that. I know I need to.
Yeah.
I've gotten Ahsoka a couple times as far as setting her up with socks and things like that. But she still is she was doing really well with this trash. And then one day she just started going in it again. So I have to really keep an eye on her with that. But socks and clothes, she's been doing okay with.
Okay.
And even when she's in the bedroom, she's sniffing. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So he's doing better in terms of when the cats come down. He's not coming every time, bolting off the couch.
Okay.
But when he does start to go, I'm like, no. And I'll give him a correction. But even before I correct him, as soon as I say no, he comes right back.
Sure.
He's like, okay.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's still that oh, so you know, that interest.
Yeah. And are you always correcting him even if he fixes himself?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So with the cats, you haven't had a ton of opportunity to have him around the cats?
Correct.
Okay.
We recently sold my mom's house.
That's right, yeah.
So we're in the process of clearing everything out.
Okay.
I'm still working through all of this. So I'm exhausted. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have 15. I know it seems like
Yeah.
it's only 15 minutes, but it's like every opportunity I get, I sit down and then I end up falling asleep on the couch. And I'm just like,
Yeah,
but I'm hoping once all this is said and done, which should be the next week or so,
sure.
I'll have lots more time.
Okay. And so currently, if he hears the cats, is he going, you said he's going bolting, but you usually can correct him out of it and he
Yes.
goes back to place.
And it's not every time. He used to get up in the middle of the night. Now it's if he's out, he's out. He might
Yeah.
wake up to it, but he's not jumping over there to
Okay.
see what it is.
Have they come down? Have the cats ventured down like they did, or are they still staying kind of upstairs?
They're mostly upstairs. They do come downstairs to go to the bathroom, and as soon as they hear us put them in the crate, before I'm even leaving the door, they're down here. So they come down only when they know the dogs are away.
Have you had anybody over to practice your beds, or?
Yes, My
Yeah.
cousin came over and I told her, hey, let me know when you're on your way, or like when you're like 5 minutes away so I can get them ready and have them in a bed stay, which I did. They came over. They were fine. They didn't even get up. And I had a friend come over too, and I can't remember if they were both here. Soka was not listening at all. Bear stayed there for a bit, then came up and wanted to pet her, like when I walked away, and I came in and I was like, no. And she was like, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry. And
Yeah.
it was my fault, I should have told her.
Okay.
But she said that he just got up, like she didn't call him over or anything. He got up and was like curious and wanted her to pet him. My cousin came over with all of her kids, and they did fine. They sat there and I put the timer on for 15 minutes after they got here, and they sat there and they did fine. This one didn't do any of that whining, but I wonder if it's because you're like newer to the house.
Yeah.
She knows the kids and my cousin.
So that's a huge success that you got them kind of on the bed.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I feel great.
Yeah.
I feel great. Yes. I didn't think that this day would ever come.
Oh, look, you put in the hard work, and we clarified some things for them, and now they're really able to understand the expectations.
And I do realize that, like, when I say, bed or spot from over here, they're kind of, like, looking around, especially this one. She'll park it just wherever. And so as I'm walking over here, Bear will come over and he realizes, oh, this is where she wants me to be,
Yeah.
Yeah. And Soka, too.
And then, did you say the cats, like, you're not able to pick them up, right? Did they like, are squirmy cats?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I can pick them up and hold them, but not in the presence of the dogs.
Okay.
They will, like, scratch.
Yeah,
and claw.
okay.
Yeah.
I'd say, like, a really good exercise, like, when you do feel like you have the time to dedicate to it, I would just put, like, one of the dogs away, like, maybe just focus on Bear just initially, because he's the one that really goes for the cats.
Yeah.
Maybe put him on muzzle, and then try to have the cats come downstairs somehow.
Okay.
And he's on the bed. If you feel most comfortable on muzzle, on a leash, but not holding the leash, and practice some of that beds as the cats are in the presence of him. Because like David was saying, we really want to get on top of setting up the scenario.
Yeah.
Because when it happens organically, like it's very hard, to be prepared, and it's very hard to have all the necessary steps in place to be able to address it.
Absolutely.
And then we miss that opportunity, and that kind of fuels the fire there.
100%.
So over the next, after you feel like you really can focus on it, I'd start to incorporate the cats into some of it. I don't know if you can get them downstairs, like if they usually come, or if you can get them to walk around. I know they have an aversion to him,
Yes,
correct?
Yes. Like I said, the male cat's a little bit more, like, I would say adventurous. Like, he's not fearless, but he is, like, a little bit more willing to get close.
We could do that just to see if we can address it together. So when you do it, you can really feel confident when you do it.
Okay.
I believe in you. I think you're a great dog. Oh, they're so cute.
Wow. This is intense right now.
He's definitely alert. His only boundary now, though, is just stay in that bed.
Should I try running to try and get them running too?
You can. Is it generally when they're running that a lot of, like, you said the boy, like, tries to run away and that really triggers him, is the running? Or is it
just the pouncing down the steps.
the pouncing?
They come
Okay.
so quickly because
Yeah.
they're trying to zip past this part here, so they come really quick.
Just getting him even some practice doing a scenario just like this, like you stand here or sit here, hold the leash, and have your daughter play with the cats.
Yeah.
And just starting with that, like, can be a way that you're still able to practice this, but you don't feel like you have to, like, really put a ton of effort into it, because when we do it that way, we're like, this is just such a big task. We'll get to it when we have time. Something as simple as this is good.
Okay.
Even if you were alone and you wanted to put the muzzle on him to guarantee the safety, we could go that route too.
Okay.
The more exposure we can get him around the cats with, the more really refining the bed stay and really refining the punishment if he goes after them, I think he'll do really well.
Okay.
Because I gave him one correction for getting off the bed when you were getting the cats together, and he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's responsive to it, is what we want to see.
He actually like listens now.
Nice. So he can separate that
Yes.
and start to be able to come away from the gate.
Yes.
Bear
And
said,
I'm surprised that they're not like
yeah.
a laser that's sitting all over the house. You know, we don't get to do that.
Oh, yeah, you should still feel like the cats can be part of your downstairs life and
Right.
be involved without fearing so much that he's going to have a horrible reaction. And it really is the amount we're going to work through it at.
Yeah.
Is this a good way, just like if you spent 10 to 15 minutes just getting them down, getting him more exposed to them,
Yeah.
having the rules be super, super strict?
Okay.
It seems like when in retrospect, like it could seem really hard to set up the scenario when
Yeah.
we're going into it, and we're like, we have to have so much mental energy for this,
Yes.
like, and you get just exhausted, and
Yes.
just the thought of it can feel overwhelming. But
Exactly.
we see how well he can do.
Yeah.
I'd still keep it super safe if you feel the most comfortable and you know you can do it if he has a muzzle on. I'd go that way.
Okay.
We'll still take all the precautions necessary by closing the gates, where it'll never be a free for all, as
Yeah.
you know, but. I am already noticing like a shift in Bear just generally when I walked in that bed stay, like
Yeah.
incredible.
Can you believe it?
And they
It's so funny
stayed.
because like Soka was the first one to jump up, and he's like, "Do I go?" You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. All right, well.
Was Bear showing the signs of like the cat interest immediately when you brought him home, or did it take a while?
So no, yeah, it took a while. Like initially, he met the cat face to face right here and did nothing. Like he literally was this close to the cat. He just kind of like didn't even
Smelling
open his
around.
mouth. Yeah, nothing. And then all of a sudden, one day, he just started like, bolting after them. The cat did.
I wonder if like they started to run and then he found fun in chasing them, and ever since then he's been
Yeah, maybe.
a little fixated on them.
Maybe.
Even like you said he still stares at the stairs when he can hear them, but
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
gotten
they'll perch
better.
right up there. And
Yeah,
they'll,
like tease
they'll,
him.
Look at him, yes.
And they're like, what are
And
you
he
going to
just
do about
stands
it?
there. Makes my heart happy.
He's doing
And
really
just,
well.
like, laying and they're relaxed.
Yeah. It's a huge breakthrough with him,
Yeah,
just to get him more
yeah. And
adapted.
See, I was wondering, like, I didn't even think about doing this. Like, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to, like, take him upstairs and, on the
Yep,
leash, like,
yep.
with the cats. Like, I just wasn't picturing it.
I think like breaking it down to just doing a simple bed stay and having the cats out is so much easier than like thinking through like, how am I going to really address this? What am I going to do?
Yes.
So this just gives you like a real life opportunity of what we could do to start pushing this a little bit.
Okay, for sure.
And it may not always be like perfect like this, but if we're in a system to be able to correct him heavily for having interest in them or getting off of it, we have something really clear to correct for.
Okay, cool.
And then you can feel like more like the cats are having their own time with you or getting played with.
Yes. And this is the other thing. I didn't even think about it because I didn't imagine that the cats would even
Yeah.
make it this far.
I didn't even think they were going to come downstairs,
No.
but
No.
he was starting to inch off just a little bit with the bed stay. So I'm making the criteria just most all of his body on, all four paws on.
Okay.
Obviously, if his paw is leaning off, I don't care about that so much. But getting him to be really attentive to us when the cats are out is important too. You could see when I said okay, there's no expectation with that. But when I told him bed, he was like still looking at them and he was trying to back up so he didn't have to listen.
Yeah.
I gave him the correction and he jumped right onto the
Yes.
bed. So
Yeah.
it's good that like I feel like you're in a lot of better of a position of correcting them when we're asking them to do something, and it feels like you're more prepared to address their
Yes.
issues, which is really good.
And I was, like, after our last session, really strict with putting I would have the e-collars here. I would take them off at nighttime to give them a break when we were sleeping. As soon as we woke up in the morning, before I even opened his
Yeah.
face, I was putting him on, and I was carrying the remotes around my neck.
Yeah,
I was like,
nice.
I'm not gonna mess up this time.
Yeah, yeah. It's the consistency that we see is really the make or break.
Yes.
If we don't have consistency, we can't push the training forward.
Right.
I struggled with that too, like until my dog, I made it consistent to put her e-collar on. I was just getting so frustrated with all of her behavior.
Yeah.
And then being able to have that breakthrough, I barely have to say no to her in the house anymore.
Wow.
And I feel like you're getting to the point where they're really, really respecting you.
Yeah. Like the cats are calm.
Yeah.
Just like playing.
I think the cats will feel a lot calmer around him once they know he's not a threat anymore.
Yeah.
Of course, they're weary of him now because they've had an intense relationship.
Yes.
Good job, buddy. Did you have any questions on today's session? I'm feeling really good about this.
How do you do this? That's what I want to know.
You know, you put in the work. We helped you out with it.
Man.
If we can just make the formula super bite-sized for people, I feel like it's a lot more successful than to feel like you have to do this big, overwhelming task.
Yes.
Breaking it down into baby steps is really where it's gonna shine through. It doesn't have to be anything complicated.
Right.
And I think isolating the dogs is also helpful because even if she doesn't have issues with them, even her walking around and sometimes the two of them together can feel very, very overwhelming.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely good to work with the two of them because it's more realistic that we'll be out together.
Yeah.
But for things like this, it's just best to isolate the dog that is the aggressor toward the cats.
Gotcha.
So we can be really focused in on what he's doing and his behavior, not miss anything. She's not doing anything wrong, but even her presence, sometimes two dogs together can.
Good job, guys.
Nice. They said that was great.
Wow.
Good work today. I'm noticing a huge difference in him, so keep up what you're doing. Consistency and like creating those habits is
Yeah.
the best thing for him.